Hey everybody, Corey with Steel Model Inc. here. Today we're back with a new project and we're doing one of the box sets from A Song of Ice and Fire. This is one of the Night's Watch factions Heroes boxes. This is the Heroes 3 box. These are 32 millimeter scale and yeah, the Night's Watch is typically a cold weather group. That's kind of they're usually in the snow and that kind of thing. Typically, a box includes a Heroes box includes 6 figures of some type. This one has 5 figures and a mounted figure. So this is the first. If you don't know, this is a game. A Song of Ice and Fire, which is based on the books. And even though they did do Game of Thrones, this is basically Game of Thrones, only Game of Thrones is not based on the book. The miniatures are based on the books. So there is differences between them. But I'm not a gamer. I just collect and paint the miniatures. But anyway, what's different about today is this is my return to, I know I've been talking about this for a while now, to oil painting my miniatures, and something I did many years ago and kind of got away from, and you know how things move. Actually, back in the day, back in the 70s, long time ago, remember I'm old, I was a 2D artist and I did a lot of oil painting and what have you. So, but I basically had reinvested in all the oil paints. Everything was all dried up from years ago. So this is my first time back doing the oil paints. And typically for the oil paints I use mostly from these 3 companies, Winsor & Newton. I use primarily Artis Oils, Winsor & Newton, Williamsburg, which is handmade, and then Gamblin. I use stuff from all 3 of those lines, but the Williamsburgs are definitely my favorite. They're just much richer, much highly pigmentized. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the others. There's a whole bunch I use in the Gamblin. But pretty much these days, if I buy a new tube, it's usually Williamsburg. It's just so. This isn't a paint along. Really not set up to do that yet, but I do plan on doing an oil painting paint along, or a number of them, because for the most part, a lot of my miniatures are going to be done in oils from here on out, and and the method that I used on these is the method that I'm going to use on most of the miniatures. It just really works well. And it's a method that James Wapple, if any of you follow him on YouTube, anyway, that's his thing. He's an oil painter. He was a former 2D artist as well, still is. But he kind of popularized this method. He calls it pre-glaze. And it's really, in my opinion, it's really not a pre-glaze, because it's not a glaze. Even though when he first started doing it, it was a pretty juicy mixture. But basically, think about it as if your miniature was a canvas, you'd be toning your canvas. So if we used to, take a brush and we'd scrub the color into our canvas, and whether it be an ochre or a brown or whatever, and you'd have this tinted canvas then instead of the white. Well, we do the same thing with the miniatures. You scrub, with a crappy brush, particular colors that are kind of staining, and then you take makeup sponges and you wipe it off, and your surface is stained on your miniature. And the difference is that you use that oil paint that's left on there, and you mix your colors and stuff right on the miniature with, you know, I mean, you still use palette. I still use palette. I still mix a lot of colors, but it does blend right with that. That's the whole point of the the pre-glaze. So anyway, and the other method is, and a lot of you have probably already seen other artists that paint in oils. You know, it's more some wet on wet like that, but a lot of wet on dry scumbling, and that's pretty much how I will do my scale figures, scale model figures. I'll probably use both though, but I like to do that, and I actually do a fair amount of that on my miniatures because when I'm working on my miniatures, I don't sit down and go and finish a miniature in one day. And sometimes, you know, some of these colors they actually will dry within a day. The whole key is not to be putting on, you know, a crap load of paint. But anyway, I will be having some, you know, paint along type tutorials coming up. So look for those. But anyway, enough rambling about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the miniatures and see what you think. All right, everybody. So here they are. Really, really happy with them. I think they turned out pretty well for my first dip back into painting with the oils. Lots of room for improvement. I could still push the darks on them and the lights actually. You know, it's something the oils are much easier. They just, more than acrylics, you can get darker and you can get brighter. It's just the way it works. It's just a ton of fun too. I'm looking forward to doing up some of my scale model figures and some of my bolt action stuff, and I've got a lot more of the Song of Ice and Fire box sets to do. Got a lot of 3D printed knights and Lord of the Rings type stuff coming, various sizes. So yeah, appreciate you coming along and watching today. We'll catch you on the next one.